director of the Unveiled Institute, a think tank that's working on social policy around discrimination and social inclusion. The discussion of tonight has been very, very interesting for me because, because I found that discussing domestic violence takes it out to a place that's so inaccessible to most people that we're starting to talk about abstract concepts. So to give you an example, we held a forum discussion with men across all different cultures and all different socioeconomic parts of the world really, and we talked about domestic violence, and most men in the room could agree that domestic violence was a very, very bad thing, very naughty, no one should do it. Then we talked about the role of men in families and relationships, and then we asked the question about whether any of these men had hit their wives or their children. Magically, all of these men who thought domestic violence was horrible had admitted to hurting their partners themselves. So in couching terminology around domestic violence and social violence, I'm finding that people just don't know what we're talking about. So what would you say, in your opinion, is the best way to make discussions around domestic violence actually accessible to people on the ground?
That was a fantastic, great question. I think to just take it right back is to go make sure we talk about hitting, shoving, kicking, pushing, spitting, throwing fist in the wall, slamming doors, then talking about swearing, verbal abuse, calling names, put down, insulting, then talking about ignoring, dismissing, that's a stupid idea, talking about fear, engendering fear, insulting. You don't have to hit someone, you can control them with a look. The look on your face, the tone in the voice, you stand up while someone's sitting down. So talking very specific what behaviours people do in relationships that cause fear and intimidation and threat. Anything that makes the other person feel unsafe. It's a lot of words, but I'd be talking about specific behaviours, and I agree people don't relate to I'm not violent because we aren't all violent. We might do violence and abuse sometimes, but we also can do love and care. So that image, that identity of ourselves as violent, it doesn't fit with most of us because we're also fathers, sons, brothers, uncles, friends, mothers, all that.
So we talk to many groups of young men about this and other issues, and one of the really interesting facts is that a study in America showed that even prisoners who were in jail would always look at somebody else who had a more extreme version of family violence and say, oh, I'm not as bad as that guy. I'm actually not a family violence perpetrator. I only did this. And so one of the things we try and do is use stories around impact and really get people to understand the impact of what they might think are innocuous actions. We had a young man who talked about he went after his mother with a spade, and then he said to me, oh, that was just a love tap. And we then spent some time just going through, so mate, here's actually the long-term impact. Here's the stuff that you can see, the police, the ambulance, and here's all the long-term stuff that's affected your mum, that's affected the rest of your family, that's actually affected you. One of the chaps working at Menslink used to perpetrate family violence against his sister when he was a teenager some decades ago. And he talks about the lifelong impact of stuff he didn't think was that bad on both him and his sister. And I think just bringing it back to this impact and making it uncool is something we've got to do. But you're right, I find one of the challenges with things like White Ribbon is that the perpetrators don't think that they're doing it. They think that family violence is something that somebody else is doing, I'm not that bad. You know, I have an argument every now and then with the missus, or, you know, the kids are playing up, so I'll slap them around the head, but everyone does that. And I think our message has to be, no, they don't. And it's wrong.
Any other questions from the audience? This lady down the front.
Hi, I'm Renee. I'm from the